what we are here for. So we are here to discuss about Apache Hadoop, which is solution one and the only solution in market as of now for big data issues. But hang on, what is big data? And there are a couple of questions which all of us, in fact most of the companies are asking in the market, in the current market scenario these days. What is big data? What is Hadoop? And why Hadoop only? And how come Apache Hadoop? And what is HDFS? What is Nudge? What is MapReduce? Big, Hive, Java? What are all these exotic keywords which we tend to hear every now and then? What is big data? First of all, so what is big data? Big data is something which all the information which is actually the data set. We call the data set as a big data, and the enterprises these days are generating data which goes to the volume of petabytes. So there are terabytes of data, there are petabytes of data which is getting generated daily, and we need to process this data. So we do have a couple of systems, conventional systems, business intelligence systems already in place. Why do we need Hadoop as another solution? Now the problem is processing the data, the huge data over the conventional business intelligence system itself has been a long and very, very expensive task. The existing systems are unable to power the various complex queries and computations under very, very tight timelines. So there are very complex questions which you got to ask here, which are really complicated in nature and difficult to answer. So Hadoop is the solution to these issues. But before we go on to Hadoop, let's explore a little bit more about data. So these are a couple of very exotic facts which are available for about most of the companies. You can, Google processes such a huge amount of data every day. Did you guys know before now that a jet airline also generates some terabytes of data while it is flying? Of course, New York Stock Exchange, one of the prominent stock exchanges on this planet, has to have some good amount of data generated every day. So data is generated not only at the huge velocity, just like in case of this jet airline. Data is also generated which is very structured in case of stock exchange, but the data which Google processes is all about images, it's all about text messages, it's all about unlimited length of text messages, it's all about videos, it's all about comments and so on. So what is this kind of data? This big data gives you three characteristics. These are basically three problems which big data poses. First of all, the big data poses a problem of huge volume. The data has to be huge, and if it has to be huge, there is problem in storage. If the storage is not the issue, the backup is the issue. You have to take equivalent amount of backup, and if for you backup is also not an issue, then of course you have problem concerning to your automatic failovers and so on. So problems keep on coming with the volume of the data at the time when velocity of data is also too much. So I had read somewhere during US elections there were approximately 1 million tweets happening per second for some time, which really is a huge amount of data coming in over with huge velocity. Our traditional systems are not meant to handle such kind of data, such kind of velocity, and of course the variety of data. Now these are 3 V's for which Hadoop offers some solution. Now let me tell you this thing also. Hadoop is not the only Hadoop cannot resolve all the problems, but as of now it is the only solution to many of or most of the big data problems that we face. Okay, why big data? Because social networks have given us thorough information. There was a time when companies used to do door-to-door survey to understand consumer behavior. There was lots of manual work involved, and most of these tasks, say being manual, were very laborious, and that's how companies used to use data somehow. But now the information is available at almost real-time basis. You get the news as soon as something is happening. You can get a review of the product as soon as your friend purchases a new mobile. You get the review as soon as you want to, buy a, let's say, a high definition TV, and so on. So this information is stored, is shared across all over freely, and this is really viable information for many of our companies across. All right. Traditional business systems don't work for complex questions, and that too over highly unstructured data. So what is unstructured data? This is something, the kind of data which we don't know, which is not schematic. We don't know whether we are going to read date. We don't know whether we are going to read a username. We don't know whether the data type is going to be a boolean, date variable, a date kind of, or it is going to be numeric. We don't know anything about our data which we are going to read. So that primarily is the limitation of traditional business systems when they have to work with unstructured data. Right? Okay. So what happens in Google? What do? They have a file system which is of course based upon big data concept, and it is termed as Google file system. They have big table as their database, which is actually the formation of which forms the basics of HBase. Google uses MapReduce, right? Their software is proprietary, but they are quite familiar, and it's very near to Hadoop. And Google, of course, we all know it is the daddy of big data. So it uses hundreds of petabytes, and it processes petabytes of data every day, every hour. What happens at Yahoo? Yahoo has a similar structure. They use HDFS, pure HDFS. They have database in form of HBase. They have language for MapReduce, HiveQL, which is high query language, and Pig. And they have clusters as big as 30,000 nodes, which is a really, really huge system. What do we do? What do they do in over Amazon? They have their own proprietary product called Dynamo. This is quite similar to column-oriented database, and in fact, what Amazon has implemented in terms of big data is architecturally quite similar to Hadoop, but then there are many differences conceptually and functionally as well. Okay, another example is Facebook. We all know Facebook uses Hadoop. They have their modified version of Hadoop, by the name Corona, and they use database as HBase. Their language is MapReduce, and they process terabytes of data, new data every day. Now here comes Hadoop. Why Hadoop? Why do companies prefer Hadoop? For the simple reason, it's open source and it has a very large developer community. That means there are people out there who can actually work on Hadoop, who can modify Hadoop from scratch. You can build up your own version of Hadoop from scratch, from source, and on the top, Hadoop does not ask for any kind of minimal configuration. You can simply create a network of your nodes and join them together to run Hadoop system. So it can work on some low-end machines as well. However, if you need to process huge amount of data, yes, you might need some good memory servers as well. Now this is the Hadoop ecosystem. As you will notice here, Hadoop forms the basis of most of the tools, and these are very exotic tools to learn about. Many of these tools are dedicated to analytics. So I have tried to categorize the tool on the basis of development, analytics, and SQL and miscellaneous. So development is basically where we use MapReduce and Big Latin as the languages for Hadoop. Primarily, in all the cases, the storage area is Hadoop, and there's a layer of frameworks built upon this storage area to utilize the storage and retrieval capabilities of Hadoop. So coming over to this, MapReduce, Big Latin, Hive, HBase, Cassandra are everything based upon Java. So people usually ask us, do we need to know Java in order to learn Hadoop? I would say it is not the basic requirement, but it surely helps you to understand concepts in a better fashion if you know Java already. But then that is not the basic requirement. That is not the basic requirement if you want to learn Hadoop. You can code. You can actually write down MapReduce programs in PHP or in .NET or in Python or in Ruby, and you can take advantage of Hadoop as a file system. All right. There are some other close relatives of Hadoop which I have tried to give definition here. So Pig is the Dataflow oriented language. Hive is a SQL-like system where you can run SQL kind of queries on Hadoop, and HBase is a key value oriented database. Cassandra is column family oriented database. Scoop is a kind of ETL tool which is used to copy or export the data from HDFS onto other databases like Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL. Then Flume is a kind of framework which is used to process logs on the large scale. Zookeeper is another management service which is used to help Hadoop cluster. Now, where do we use Hadoop altogether? It's very easy. You will see lots of use cases, or you will see very practical scenarios of Hadoop being used everywhere. But these are one of the most common which we have listed down here, and the top of them is recommendation engine. You can use Hadoop to identify the recommendations for each and every individual client. You can use Hadoop to identify customer churn, and we also use Hadoop for target-based advertising. We can use Hadoop to analyze bigger data logs, and use the past events to forecast the future events. And of course, Google uses Hadoop to improve its search results. Okay, who are the big players in Hadoop category? It's not Hadoop category, rather we should say who are the big players in big data market. So IBM has a product called Big Insight. They also have a database appliance called Netiza, and SPSS is the predictive analytic software which IBM offers, which in fact is quite famous. Then there is a company called Cloudera. We probably all have heard of Cloudera by now. It offers certification in Hadoop, and it also offers plenty of tools which can be implemented over Hadoop. We do have Amazon also as a vendor which offers you Hadoop as a cloud service, and we have a product from EMC which is called Greenplum, this is also based upon Hadoop, and this is primarily used for analytics. And lastly, there is a company called Hortonworks, which is working with Microsoft to implement Hadoop on Windows platform. Okay, so what is the moral of our big data story? What do we use Hadoop for? This is the specialty, the unique selling point for Hadoop is we move this processing to data. We don't move the data, but we move the processing to data. We run our programs in a fashion that there is minimal data movement across network happening, because of course your data is too huge to move here and there, and you don't want to lose your time moving data across your network. You can distribute data across hundreds of commodity machines. As you might have noticed, what Google, Facebook, Amazon and Yahoo does, they don't use any kind of conventional programs, any kind of conventional tools. They don't use Oracle, they don't use Teradata, they don't use MySQL for storing huge amount of data. What they rely upon is Hadoop kind of infrastructure, and they use NoSQL programming frameworks. And you probably might have also noticed in the previous pages, they don't use any kind of database appliances, any kind of network storage, or supercomputers as well. So there is no fancy hardware, but yes, there are fancy concepts in place. Okay, just in case if you are still not sure whether we should learn Hadoop or not, I do have a couple of facts still for you. So Hadoop is of course the hot keyword in the market these days. Which company, in fact most of the companies need people who understand data, what is data and what is big data, what is the difference in both of them, how can they utilize this data and big data for increasing their profit margins, since all of the companies across the globe are fighting for cost reduction. And which Fortune company you don't know, which is not using big data? Almost every company across the globe needs people who are familiar with big data, who know how to process big data, who know what needs to be done with big data. And for most of us guys, this is a very natural career progression throughout. Now, who can learn this? We over this crowd, what we have gathered here, there would be people from different backgrounds. So let me try to answer this in straightforward manner. Maybe I might be skipping a couple of people here, but then we can have this kind of answer while our demo is done. So we'll come across to specific questions, but primarily who are the best eligible candidates for Hadoop? So people who know Java, who know .NET, who know PHP, who know Python, these kind of languages already, people are good to, they are good candidates. So people from ETL background, yes, they are also good candidates. Though they don't understand Java, they might not understand PHP, they might not understand Python and so, but they do understand um, the crux of this technology, the need for this technology. So the people from database background do understand what is data and how big data can be categorized, what are the basic problems with which big data is offering us, and what could be the solutions. And of course, if there are people around from testing or QA background, yes, we need lots of testers, we need lots of QA people out there to ensure the data is not corrupted by anybody, to ensure the data is processed in the safest manner and everything is right and good with the huge big data. We don't want to spoil our big data, right? So we do need people from testing background as well. Now, what do you do after learning Hadoop? Let's say we put you over to a career path where you have learned Hadoop, and where do you go after that? So, if you understand any programming language, as we talked about it earlier, and if you know the database, or if you know both of them, what can you do? Where else you can go? You can scale yourself as the data analyst. All right. The data analyst is a person who will code for different algorithms. The data analyst is a person who will do capacity planning for your big data projects. The data analyst would be a person who will understand the need of reading the data, taking out the information from the data, and maybe exploring it as well. Let's say if you are data analyst, once you achieve this thing, what is the next level you might like to go? So your natural career progression should be what? If you are equipped with the right tools and technologies, and from data analyst you can grow up to architect. You can be a big data architect. Sounds cool? Let's say there would be some people who don't like technology very well, who don't have that kind of coding mindset. What about those people? So are any of you guys is mathematician, or are you a statistician already, or you are a domain expert, and do you understand technology also? So if you have any one of these qualities, you can also progress to become a data scientist, which is probably the hottest paid job in market for now, and it is bound to stay as the hottest one for next maybe a decade or so. Right. So data scientist is a person who will write the algorithms, who will generate the algorithms, and since the data scientist is supposed to know everything about most of the things about maths and stats, so they know how to explore the information, where this information would be useful, what can be done, primarily with the predictive analysis. You as a data scientist could be exploring the data, doing research and development throughout your career for the betterment of company in terms of using the information which is already there, and of course predicting the future events to some part, to some context. All right, and that's about it, guys. So do you have any questions, comments which could lead to feedback? So let me unmute you guys. maybe you can ask questions one by one. Guys,